Alrighty, here we go. The rest is down to me. One wrong move and things will go badly. My lord, the defense requests further cross-examination. Further cross-examination.
Objection!
The jurors have spoken. Protocol dictates you may not cross-examine a new witness.
Objection!
We're not cross-examining a new witness. Rather to continue with one of an existing witness. What? It would appear that a rather important detail has escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. Oh, hang on. Alright, sorry to keep you waiting. So nobody can say anything then. If Bruno asks to resume his cross-examination of Mr. Graydon, the court is obliged to allow it. This is absurd. I would remind those present that this is my courtroom. I concur the defense is entirely within its rights to rest the continuation of the cross-examination. However, I will not permit an unremitting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I have decided to afford the defense one final opportunity in concluding the cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness's testimony, and one piece of evidence to present in support of your argument against it. No pressure. Following that the situation remains unchanged, I shall move to adjudication. Is that clear, counsel? You will not press the witness any further. My lord. Yes, my lord. A single statement and a single piece of evidence. Most generous. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's high time I fell in a dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Mr. Sholmes! Stand so unsuitably before the court in a state of such high fever. Either the man has extraordinary strength of mind or an extraordinary lack of feeling. I imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers. Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared? Yeah, we are. One statement, one piece of evidence. Ow. This is going to decide the entire outcome of the trial. Very well then. Under the terms I've outlined, you may resume the cross-examination. Alrighty. Again. People, huh? I don't think so. Cat flap maker. What on earth is that eccentric contraption, Counsel? Oh, it's my cat flapper, my lord. It makes a way for cats to get in and out of a room. It can cut through any door you can think of, and make a new little door in the midst of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please, without their owners having to open the main door. I'm sure we can all work that out for ourselves. Ah! But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it doesn't. To start with, there was no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function another way then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon? A peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Mr. Windibank had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at Yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Mr. Sholmes. Yes, the 3 of us were together, and it's recently come to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in the storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself in order to see inside the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous! What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in the door. I said as much in my testimony. How else could I have witnessed the crime, for pity's sake? Yes, how could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time to strike the final blow. What I mean is this, my lord. My assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, and until such time as she did, the door had no hole to look through. What? No! Objection! This is a farce! Are you really suggesting the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place by my judicial assistant using this device. Your assistant tampered with the crime scene whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions? That's a most serious act of vandalism! For which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in the few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the Skulkin brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in the light of this new information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Riddled with... Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Graydon's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, if at the time of the incident, that peephole did not exist in the door, there's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Order! 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 Is there any credence in this revelation? Objection! None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly! This is some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is! Do you seriously expect people to believe if that plaything can cut through a solid wood door? Oh yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It can cut through even the toughest of doors. That's absurd! I don't believe it for a second. Ha ha! I had a feeling you said that. What? Waggy, Cooey, time for dinner. Well? Ah! Young lady, this is the Old Bailey. One does not make cat flaps in the oak paneling at the Old Bailey. I have to pause this and take the picture because that is something I need to have. I've been waiting for that one. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door at Windibank's was made by your machine. And there's no way you can prove it was. No, but it's easy. What? The cat flaps my cat flapper creates are all of a fixed size. and the dimensions of the people at Windibanks are an exact match. Hehe, old Silky's lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it's my learned student friend to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home. Well, yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all the facts. For the sake of argument, let us assume the peephole has dimensions that are a perfect fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. What is the purpose of your line of inquiry, Lord Van Zieks? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using this device. But now that the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact. Therefore, there is no proof. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. What? Ow! We have proof. Don't give up now. We have proof. It's time. We have the Gina pick. Proof that the peephole was created after the event and not before. What are you? A print from that detective's infernal cameras again? My judicial assistant, Miss Susato Mikotoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had the necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print, Counsel? This print shows a scene of the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agreed. And it also shows the accused mercilessly wielding a gun in the direction of the defenseless broker. But, more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I don't believe it. It is quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is devoid of a peephole of any description. Ah! Mr. Graydon, you couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. Spinny spin spin. Order! 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 I'm satisfied the defense has substantiated its claim beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness's testimony was entirely fallacious. That's not the only thing we now know beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with a crime scene. But more importantly, good lord, there's more, Lord Van Zieks. The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury. But that is not proof that this man is victim's killer. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene. It's true. And I was shot in the arm, it's true. But that's all. Yes, in fact, if you look at the circumstances, I'm the victim here. Oh, please. No! I don't believe this. They're right. As it stands now, I don't have any definitive proof he is the culprit. He can't worm his way out of it now. You know what they say. There's no point locking the cat's door after the cat is bolted. Isn't that right, Runo? As Hilly always says, one lie begets another. No, wait. That might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Well, no matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told make no sense. Make no sense. What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there's a fundamental inconsistency in your statements. What?
Objection!
This is provocative talk, counsel. Won't you enlighten the court? Explain this alleged inconsistency. I was right. One lie begets another. The inconsistency is revealed by the lies in the witness's statements. They show that Mr. Graydon had knowledge of something he shouldn't have known anything about, namely, the peephole. The point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Graydon. It's the nature of the lie you concocted that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me ask you a simple question. How is it, Mr. Graydon, that you knew of the existence of the peephole in the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously Has the cat got your tongue, witness? The peephole in the door was made after the incident occurred. And once I returned to the shop, having failed to catch the two burglars, Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windibanks constantly, carrying out their investigation. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Well, yes, of course. The place is chock full of pond articles, and my lads have to thoroughly examine all of them. So I gave the order to have the officers working around the clock in shifts so we get through it all. And consequently, there's no way that you, Mr. Graydon, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the peephole in the storeroom door. So the fact that its existence forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable.
Objection!
Oh, for the love of Christ. Not again. And yet, the fact remains that Mr. Graydon did maintain that he witnessed the crime take place through the peephole door. How on earth is that possible? Could I have a word, please, my Lord Van Zieks? Speak, Inspector. It's just that I really ought to be getting back to the station now to put in my report. You're not getting out of this. Permission denied. Oh, it's not at all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until this trial concludes. Of course, sir. Mr. Graydon? You shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean that you must have been informed about it by somebody else.
Objection!
Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extremely serious implications. Yes, but the defense believes that the details about the case that Mr. Graydon claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. And in fact, considering a particular clue we have, there's really only one person it could be. It's gotta be Tobias Gregson. Who gave this witness details of the crime scene to facilitate his false testimony?
Take that!
The truth is, it can only have been you, Inspector Gregson. Hey! Me!
Objection!
You had better have some proof to substantiate such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we have only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of it only during the course of the trial today. Indeed, preparations for his testimony were made with great urgency during our hour-long recess, while the police executed the subpoena and brought the man here from the communications station. And until that time, Mr. Graydon would have had no idea, no inkling that he would suddenly be required to appear in court. Are you suggesting that until such a time as he was summoned? Yes, my lord. Until then, it's reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the people. It was only once Mr. Graydon was in the stand that he realized his position, that he would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was the third intruder. You're suggesting to the court it was while this trial was in progress he received the information. That was the huddle! That he would commit perjury in order to save his skin. Exactly. And the only person with knowledge of the investigation that he had in any contact with is you, Inspector Gregson. This is a bloomin' outrage! Why would I be giving away details of investigations to this fella, huh? I know why. It's the music box disc. I was summoned to his lordship's chamber during recess in any case. Had you forgotten that? Quite true. I had a number of questions regarding the events that transpired at the pawnbrokery. Which means the first time these two laid eyes on another was after proceedings resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view at the stand where such illicit discussions could possibly have occurred. I just remembered something, Runa. There was one time before, wasn't there? I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Yeah. When the bailiff was dispatched to retrieve McGilded's music box from the scene of the crime. That's it! That was during that testimony. I remember finding it strange at the time. Mr. Graydon and the inspector seemed to be having some kind of secret discussion. It would have been possible for you to give Mr. Graydon that information he needed then. You little toe rag! You're making all this up! I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Why would I be giving away confidential details to the likes of this bloke? I know why. You wouldn't have any reason to do something like that for no gain. But perhaps it was part of a deal of some kind. Then it starts to make more sense. What deal, counsel? I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the people at the crime scene, Mr. Graydon agreed to give a certain something to the inspector. I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that, if found to be true, striking a deal of any kind with a witness would be considered a gross case of malfeasance.
Objection!
It's becoming clear that jumping in with accusations is this Nipponese student's specialty. I don't do that. But with the stakes so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent on the defense now to present evidence in support of this diabolical claim. Evidence? Just what are you proposing the inspector demanded of the witness in return? The court must see proof of the alleged deal. Oh, I know what he wants. Logically, there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. Bruno, do you think it could be? Yes. It's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. I must press you for an answer now, counsel. What evidence explains the nature of the alleged deal? The music box disc.
Take that!
Inspector Gregson. Besides this murder, is it not true you've been working on another very important case? What? What are you getting at now, Sunshine? Is it possible this other top-secret case is what's alluded to in this newspaper article here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice? How to bleed Nora, would you? We discovered during the course of this trial that the music box deposited at Windibanks by Magnus McGilded, a special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair of discs that were in McGilded's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing these secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the disc for details of the case. You little... Aye! There goes your credibility as an inspector. Order! 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 On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windibanks, you said this. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. No, don't. Don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. It's mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Scotland Yard already knew of that time, didn't they? Isn't that right? That Magnus McGilded was involved in the stealing of government secrets. My orders were, recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. And that explains why, when I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information. Well, I mean, not likely. I mean, I wasn't that sure of it myself. I realized there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector, surely. Surely you're not saying in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness. To aid and abet this man in giving false testimony. There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known of the existence of the peephole. Well, you better get a new line of job. No! Ah!
Objection!
If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc is, as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What's that supposed to mean, eh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly, he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this matter. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Good gracious! Then you mean to say, Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession? No, he doesn't.
Yes!
He gave it to someone else. That's the reason he was shaking him down. This young lad wants to tone down his imagination. He's insulted me and my profession quite enough. However, if it'll put his matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search. What? He's gonna agree to it. I presume you're aware of the precipice on which you are now teeter, my learned student friend. You've made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If following the search of this inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, you will be deemed unfit for court service, this trial will end, and my country's government will formally demand of yours that you are severely reprimanded. That sounds serious. Indeed, to have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force is not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook. You're just threatening Runa because you're scared. The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences. It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. The disc must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. But somehow, something doesn't feel quite right here. Yeah, he agreed with it too easily. Do you still persist in formally requesting a search of the inspector's personal effects? Search someone else! Yes, the defense formally demands the search be conducted. Well, don't say you weren't warned, but your typical Nipponese stubbornness may land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good. Fair enough. I've got nothing to hide. Very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search of the inspector's personal effects. The defense demands a search, but not of the Inspector Gregson. What? What's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? I thought you wanted to search me. No, Inspector. Not you. Somebody else. What's the meaning of this, eh? Lost it at last, have you, Sunshine? The court shouldn't have to put up with this nonsense. You're being completely irrational. Be quiet, all of you. Bruno's doing what you all told him to do and having the courage of his own convictions. So you should respect that and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way. Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction and eagerly awaits his next words. You what? Let there be hasty, my lord. He's scared. Mr. Greeny's got it.
Take that!
Of my lord, Mr. Nash Skulkin. Well, I never. Hey, blimey, me? Him? Very well then, bailiff. Restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of his personal effects.
Hold it!
Please, my lord. Inspector, Scotland Yard has to object to the search.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, Inspector, your objections carry no weight here. Aye. In this courtroom, only the prosecution and the defense have the authority to object. But Lord Van Zeeks, I've no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. But personally, I've no intention of obstructing the course of this trial. Bailiff, carry out the search. Now hold on a mo. I don't know nothing. Nothing about no disc. Cut it out! Ah! Here, my lord. In the witness's pocket. I found this. Good lord, that's another music box disc. I know nothing about it. Nothing. That is the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. Is it not, Inspector Gregson? Ah! Order! Mr. Skulkin, what have you to say for yourself? Gordon Bennett, just Gordon Flamin' Bennett. I swear I didn't know nothing about that disc. Honest to God. Counsel, would you please explain what exactly is going on here? The alleged deal that was struck between this witness and this detective, no? Without question, my lord. Then for pity's sake, why on earth was this man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information? Inspector Gregson is a shrewd, calculating man who rarely loses his composure. But at one particular point in this trial, he exhibited some unusual behavior for a brief moment. I don't recall. What unusual behavior? Yeah, he throttled him. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? I meant to nothing of the sort. While Mr. Graydon answered my questions, the inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkin by his coat and was shaking him violently. Yeah, he did it all. Thought me noggin was gonna fall clean off, I did. I was wishing I'd been born as me brother, I was. And what exactly happened to make the detective attack you like that? Oh, I got a clue. He just suddenly turned and grabbed me whilst like that and started shaking me. Why the blazes didn't you mention the third gun when we got you down in the station? That's what he said. Yelled it right out of my ear hole, he did. My head's still throbbing now. The way the detective behaved was an extremely out-of-character moment. But looking back now, it must have been that he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Gregson created for himself in order to hide the disc. Bless my wig! He hit it! You! but I'm afraid I fail to comprehend the motive here. If the detective had acquired the disc he was after, why on earth would he then proceed to hide it in another man's pocket? This is a court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence. It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that. Why ever not? As the man himself revealed earlier, his current assignment has some special conditions. My orders were, recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. Hush-hush, a top-secret assignment, is it? As far as we're aware, the information stolen comes from confidential government communications. It would seem that if that information were to be revealed in court as evidence, it would be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector? I'm operating under direct orders from the Ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to answer that question. So, realizing there was a chance you might be searched here in court, you took steps to hide the disc you had acquired from the witness. What does this mean? He's only pretended to attack Mr. Shkolkin in order to get close enough to him to slip the second disc into his pocket. So it was all a pretense. Well now, Inspector Gregson, and you, Mr. Graydon, are you prepared to admit to the accusation made to you of this alleged deal? Admit to it. Yours truly, please. Mr. Graydon, clearly our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof I passed that disc to the inspector. But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the peephole? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? Yes, I lied in my testimony. That I admit, so sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder, leaking government secrets, striking a deal with a detective, all of it is this young Eastern man's fancy. I have no idea what any of it is about. What? I don't think so. Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? You admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? Ladies and gents of the jury, as a Scotland Yard inspector, I will declare this and nothing more. I'm acting in the best interests of this country. Whatever I've done, it's been in the name of justice. So, as members of the public of this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be your guide and light when you're making your decisions. This is quite a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary tumultuousness in the concluding of a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of any further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for the final readings. Well now, as a fellow servant of Queen and Country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. In service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really. Raiden is highly skilled operation. Stop. Currently impressing the vital. Stop. Detective has very much trust in eyes. More than this I cannot say. They are going to believe Gregson. They declare their decision now. Ginny gonna be found guilty. If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're gonna lose. It is some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole those government secrets. Oh, hey there, Kit. You alright there? Or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Well then, Consul, I think it's time I imposed on the jurors to declare their final decisions, no? That is, unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus far not presented to the court. You have to throw more evidence. Gregson time. Inspector Gregson, there's one final piece of evidence I would like you to see. What's that, then? If you refuse to acknowledge that you did in fact strike a deal with the witness here today, then you leave us no choice but to examine this piece of evidence thoroughly. Well, then go on. My last chance. The music box.
Take that!
Is that the music box console? Yes, with a disc already in place, ready to play. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time, with the second disc we've just discovered set in place as well. Goodness, this disc console. No, wait! I can't let you do that. Why not? But because because it's got nothing to do with his case. That's why.
Objection!
Not true, Inspector. The defense has already proposed that the sounds heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse code message. We know that Morse code comprises of two distinct tones. The defense believes the second disc contains the second tone needed to complete the message. And now we have a chance to confirm that theory. For crying out loud, sunshine, we're talking about state secrets here. You go letting the whole courtroom hear confidential information like that. It's treason. Then do you admit the charge? That in order to protect the state secrets, you engaged in unlawful dealings with the witness. You're mad. You let that secret information out in the public domain. You'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot.
Objection!
Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leaked confidential case details to a witness. You continue to lie to the court, and all because by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare. I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. My lord, if you please. The court must hear the sounds made by that music box. Come on, Menzies. For Pete's sake, stop him.
Objection!
Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. Hey! In this courtroom, my duty is to the law. So let me propose a toast. To uncovering the truth. By fair means or foul. No! Very well. The defense's stance here and that of the prosecution have been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, the court will now listen to what this music box is set in. Listen as this music box is set in operation once more. We'll do that next time.